today in this design chat, community design chat for the World Design Capital with you, Laura, from Tijuana. Laura Araujo.
Thank you, Julika. And thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate it. To be able to act as the voice for Tijuana in this project. As you mentioned, my name is Laura Araujo. I was born and raised in Tijuana, and I still live here. My children were also born and raised here. But from a very young age, I was very much in contact with the culture and everything having to do with the U.S. My family, although they come from Chihuahua and Puebla, my mother's family, on my mother's side, they grew up in Oceanside and San Isidro. So we have that, and that was passed on, thankfully, was passed on to my family. And so we consider ourselves binational, bicultural, as well as bilingual. And I am a graphic designer by trade. I was first-generation graphic design from Universidad Iberoamericana here in Tijuana. But I also studied 2 years at Southwestern College. So I also did my higher education in a binational stage. And right now, my duties are as Director of Binational Affairs for Tijuana Innovadora. So something I've been doing for 8 years now. And it's just doing Tijuana Innovadora, which is an innovation or a social innovation project here in Tijuana. Part of their goals was back in 2011, was to reestablish the connection San Diego-Tijuana, which was severed not only by the 9/11 situation, but also by some difficulties here in Tijuana. So that is where I came in, and we've been doing this now for more than, well, actually, this year is our 10th anniversary. And we've been really working hard in either building new bridges or strengthening the bridges that already exist between our Tijuana, San Diego communities. And that is why this project of World Design Capital 2024 San Diego, Tijuana would just fit in perfectly to our goals. And we're very, very happy to be part of it.
Maybe tell us what you are currently doing for this bid. Are you You're speaking from the position of the Innovation for Tijuana project, but are you contributing a voice? Are you contributing a vision, expertise on the matter? So it'd be interesting to know.
As part of Tijuana Innovadora, we were invited for this project to be part of the project late 2020. But at that time, it was the goal was just to incorporate the pieces from Tijuana, the pieces from the design community, people, places, projects, etc. Once we received the notification that we had been selected as, the finalist shortlist along with Moscow, something very interesting happened was that the DFA consulted us as toward our organizational structure. Tijuana Innovadora has 8 acting projects at the same time. So our structure and our communication is very organic. We have a center and then everything happens around it. So the DFA sort of took this into consideration to create a group or a team to handle the shortlist. And one of those teams is the Site Visit Experience Committee. And currently I'm co-chair of that committee. And it's a group of 12 to 14 designers, architects, people who are connected to the design community, government, equity issues, etc., that are part of this SVEC committee.
So how would people even hearing this now learn more about these projects if they're not in Tijuana or Mexico? I mean, we're still in an exceptional global situation.
One of the projects that's connected directly to World Design Capital is Innova Moda. And that's our fashion industry project. This project was born in 2012. It was the idea of its director right now that really identified that there were quite a few fashion designers, and people related to fashion design, like artifact designers, photographers, makeup artists, etc. But they didn't have a platform where to showcase their work. So she proposed and she organized this project, and they had their first showing in 2012, then 2014, and then they've had showings every year. They have at the top, it's a competition between upcoming designers, non-professionals, and there are three chosen, and then they have a fashion show runway to showcase their work. We've had around 400 designers register. Right now, it's been more than 60 that have participated in the project and in the fashion runways, and some of them are already on the market. But in addition to this, it's the whole backside, right, of the industry. It's marketing, it's design concepts, it's fashion photography. We have workshops and training for everybody related or anybody that's interested in fashion design. So Ana Gurria, who's the director, has actually created a platform for all these and a new industry here in Tijuana. And for anybody wanting to learn more about Tijuana Innovadora, they could go to our website, tijuanainnovadora.org. And I'm sure we're going to write that down. And they can learn more about our various projects. I actually do a presentation at certain universities like San Diego State and UCSD.
So what you mentioned earlier, and I really like this, is this image of a bridge. This really of this permeable bridge and border. A border is not an image that is very friendly. A border is an image of differences, but you're talking about a bridge of connection, of a life lived in two places, but maybe it's really just one. So tell me, what do you think is the big opportunity with this World Design Capital bid and possibility for both cities, or for maybe that one macro system? What is the big opportunity?
Well, first I need to mention that the binational work is done on both sides. It's not just Tijuana leaders, organizations, institutions, promoting it. We have leaders on both sides of the border that are promoting. One of them, huge promoter, is Malin Burnham on the San Diego side.
Yeah.
And we have organizations like Smart Border Coalition and others that have incorporated. Just the mayor's office in San Diego, they have since way back, I think 2010, they have a binational affairs office, right? So it's in the interest of both. And the reason for this is that we know that San Diego and Tijuana are connected. We're connected in many ways. I mean, we're not only, side by side. We're the closest cities on the border.
Yeah.
And we're connected, of course, economically, yes. Our pesos and dollars go back and forth many times, across the border. We're connected socially. Families that have that either live in Tijuana and work in San Diego or vice versa. Education, students that cross the border every day, 5 a.m, 4 a.m, to go to school in San Diego. We're connected in many areas, but our activities have always been a bit siloed. There's an activity, there's an event, and it's a fantastic event, but then everybody goes back to their homes. Everybody goes back to their offices and continues. Yeah. So one of the big opportunities that World Design Capital is bringing to the region is an opportunity to work continuously as a binational region, to promote it, but also work. And it's an infrastructure that, thank goodness, Design Forward Alliance has been able to create. And we've been doing that for the past, 2-3 months. It's been working out fantastic. And once we receive the designation of World Design Capital 2024, this work will be able to continue. So the opportunity here is, first and foremost, of course, to showcase the design community on both sides of the border so that the world knows what we've been doing, what we've been creating, and where we're headed as to, community focused design, human-oriented, where is the next phase of our design taking us? But also, this is creating the infrastructure of a new way of working as a binational region. That's going to stick. That's going to continue. And I'm sure it'll permeate to other areas of commonality between our cities. So it's a huge opportunity. It's like CBX, which was a pipe dream, 10, 15 years ago. CBX is the Cross-Border Express. This is a bridge between the Tijuana Airport and San Diego. And what it is just a shortcut for those traveling to be able to cross the border very rapidly. And it's a structure that is on top of the border. It crosses over the border. And it was, as mentioned, something that was discussed as just a dream, right? But it was done. And this sets the stage of other possible projects that could be just at the border, be, some an activity or project that just helps this binational activity along and helps us grow as both communities.
What is another project that illustrates maybe this opportunity? You bring up the Overfly. It's like a park that I haven't seen yet. I've heard about plans for a real park, like with trees, a park. What are other projects that illustrate this opportunity?
Well, first I need to mention also that there are many stories about the San Diego-Tijuana relationship. There's a book out, and I have it right here. It's called Tercer País, San Diego-Tijuana, and it talks about two countries, two cities, one community. This is a project that was headed by Malin Burnham, but also includes in our side Don Jose Galicot, who's the president and founder of Tijuana Innovadora. And what they talk about is it's like small conversations with stakeholders and what the relationship San Diego-Tijuana means to them and how it has been growing, right? So it's like community voices talking about the relationship.
Right, so now, it's a nonfiction book. It's a nonfiction book, and the literal title for anyone that doesn't speak Spanish, it sounds like Third Country.
Exactly, San Diego-Tijuana, Third Country.
Okay.
And so that focuses, right, community, and the World Design Capital will focus design. So it's this wonderful next step, right, for us in this conversation. And other projects that are going to be showcased during World Design Capital 2024 is Friendship Park. That is a wonderful, wonderful project that's right at the border. And it actually develops, there's a space there that already exists, but it's sort of cut off by the border, right, by the structure. But this is a project that sort of combines and creates a space for both communities. So that's going to be a wonderful project. And there are also other heritage projects that are going to be, being talked about and showcased. We're working in Tijuana Innovadora. We're working in the Iniciativa Rio Tijuana, the Rio Tijuana Initiative, and this is a project that brings together environmentalists, activists, but also architects and engineers to solve the Rio Tijuana issues that have been, going on for many, many years. But this, again, it's from the community's standpoint. We know that sometimes, in our case, governments are here. Our municipal government is here only 3 years. The governor in state administration is here 6 years, and then things change. But if you build infrastructure for a project from the community, that'll keep going.
Yeah, a good example of what the opportunity in this is, the possibilities. And when you say what people and stakeholders are relevant, you call them out, community members. So anyone who watches them, they don't need to call themselves a designer. They don't need to be high up in the government. Who else would you want is partaking in this? Someone that's not so loud yet and not so visible yet. Can you call some names or some roles?
for World Design Capitals, we have, the groups that are already part of it, like AIGA in San Diego and San Diego Design Week, Design Forward Alliance, Architects Association, etc. They're already part of this and are going to be, they've added their voice to this.
Yeah.
In the Tijuana side, that's very interesting, and it's very interesting contrast because we're not as organized as San Diego is.
Yeah.
So when you want to reach out to somebody, you need to reach out individually, right?
Yeah.
But we do need to, this is another opportunity for us in Tijuana to create an infrastructure for designers, to create an AIGA type, structure for graphic designers, or to create the connection between San Diego architects and Tijuana architects. We already have some stakeholders like Jorge Gracia from Escuela Libre de Arquitectura. They do wonderful, innovative projects, and so he's already part of it. Arturo Elenes and Katy Silva from Enigma Creative. They're a branding and marketing agency here. But we have other designers and young up-and-coming designers, and they're the ones that should be really moved or pushed forward so they can be the ones that continue our work. The ones that are really going to take the banner and continue, as well as students. We have 13 universities here in Tijuana, and around 3 of those have design elements or design areas. And the young kids that are in the school, they're going to be invited, and a huge opportunity for them as well.
What I hear in this last example is how learning the best practices from the other city, from the other region, and not stealing it, but just being inspired by it so that the growth is more rapid. And I'm talking to you as a German who's living in the Netherlands and who doesn't know Europe so well. They're neighboring countries, maybe not neighboring cities, but I get also really inspired by this, by the comparison that is beneficial, like saying, this is how they do it here, this is how they do it there. And it's a bifocal way of viewing and then accelerated learning thereby. Yeah.
And that's the opportunity and the challenge to take this project, this huge project, and really bring out the best for the communities. And one of those is sharing best practices, right? And starting to collaborate even more. Again, due to the difficulties in Tijuana, 2008, 2009, a lot of communities were separated. San Diego didn't cross the border so much. Schools canceled their MOUs and their, collaboration, etc. But this, we have been coming together more and more with each year. So this is another way of taking advantage, or just focusing on the positive through this project to bring our design communities together.
Let's talk about your role in this. And you started out by introducing yourself as someone who's binational and has been on both sides and in that third country. But what motivates you to contribute to this? What about you that so truly and from inside comes from you motivates you?
You have to realize that when you're living at the border, you have the opportunity to take the best of both worlds and apply them to your area, whatever it is. If it's your life, if it's your profession, if it's your economy, you have that opportunity. Whoever doesn't see that is missing out on a lot. That's first part. Then when I was asked to be part of Tijuana Innovadora, and this was a time, as I've mentioned before, Tijuana had some serious security issues back in 2008, 2009. I was even thinking about leaving, taking my 3 kids, somewhere else that was safer. But then Tijuana Innovadora came. They asked me to be a part of it. I saw what their intention was, what their goals were. And I said, yes, this is where I have to be, right? Yeah. But I bring to Tijuana Innovadora not only my graphic design skills and marketing skills and strategic communication, but also my binationality, right? So when you're working with and for the community, that inspires you to always look for more. You do something, it goes well, what's the next step? And what's the next step, right? And that is very inspiring to somebody who lives, and I really love my city. So whatever I'm able to do to promote the best about our city and then to bring the best to our community, I'm there. I'm there, and I just love that this project specifically has allowed me to go back to my roots, which is graphic design. And I really love being able to connect with that part of my world again. And going back to what you were mentioning, the challenges, there are a myriad of challenges. First, yes, we are border communities, trans-border communities, but we are Mexicans and Americans, and you have a cultural divide, which is huge. So first you have to navigate that. There are different ways of doing meetings. We have different ways of administrations, of government. We have differences, but you have to learn how to navigate those differences and actually just take the positive or what's best for your project. The other is, of course, language. There is a difficulty in dealing with the way, U.S. Americans or English-speaking persons say a message, and then the way Mexicans or Latin American-speaking people say the messages, convey the messages. And so you also have to take that into consideration, right? You can't say it this way, but you have to say it that way, depending on where you are at the border.
Yeah.
But right now, I guess the most obvious challenge, and this is around the world, is the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
We've had to create this during a pandemic, right? And it's been difficult, but actually, it's also helped us to gather more frequently because of these digital tools that are available to us, right? Like the Zoom. So you look at challenges and you say, well, we need to move forward. So what's the best way to move forward with this? And that's something that has always also been part of this new way of working is, setting those challenges aside or going through them and just, coming out the next side as best as possible. And we've been able to do that. There are still challenges ahead.
Yeah.
There are financial challenges. There are logistical challenges. Just crossing the border right now is a challenge, and not everybody can cross the border. But you need to, navigate through all these challenges and push your project through. Because at the end of the day, it's the project, the goal. And that project is going to bring so much to your community that, that just helps you along, to meander through all those challenges.
You also seem to be very fluent and very adept in English. Is that also sometimes maybe misleading? Do you feel home in both languages? Do you feel home in both cultures? Because we call it also Home 24. I know it's an acronym, but why do you feel home in both of it?
Correct. That's why I consider myself bicultural. I can be living in San Diego, be totally comfortable, and I live in Tijuana, I am totally comfortable. The reason why I speak, and some my colleagues, when I first came into Tijuana and Innovadora, they thought I was a U.S. citizen, and I said, no, I'm Mexican citizen. But the reason is that I was exposed to the language very early on. I mean, from when I began to speak Spanish, I was also speaking English, and that's because at home, every media or communication device was from San Diego: radio, TV, movies, etc. Spanish I learned at school, but at home, everything that I absorbed was from the U.S. So that made it very, very easy to become bilingual, and it's something that thankfully I've been able to share and pass on to my children as well.
Yeah, so it sounds like then bilingualism or like speaking many languages is not something to be saved for later in education. It's almost as important as literacy and as the ability to do math and reading and all that. So I think this is, I hope a future we're also venturing into one of a bilingual country, one that speaks Spanish as much as speaking the language of the neighbors.
Correct. And it's a challenge with this project as well. When the Tijuana collaborators came in, one of the things was that we need everything that's going to be, written, put on the website. Everything's got to be in both languages.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge. For us, it may be more natural, but, for San Diego, it was like changing their mindset a bit, not because they're against it, but because they hadn't thought of it. So yes, we need that ingredient, and they applaud it and they embrace it and they're doing it. So that was fantastic.
I want to bring this over, and we've covered so much. I think we have really cool moments in this is community, anyone who's watching this. So it's the person that can't speak right now because it's recorded and it's video, but I don't think it's just one way out, but I want it to be also coming back to us. How can people step in? How can they connect? How can they, if this is sparking with them, how can they make a difference?
Well, first and foremost, the visit. Where we have a World Design Organization visiting San Diego and Tijuana October 3rd through the 6th. And everybody's going to see a lot of messages going out on Facebook, LinkedIn. Please share. Please join the conversations. Please join in, ask your questions, help us get to much more, to a bigger audience, and just let everybody know what's happening here in Tijuana.
So it's amplifying. If there's something positive, don't hesitate to move it forward so it gets more exposure. Yeah.
Correct. And the other is once we receive the designation, hopefully, there will be plenty of volunteer opportunities. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be reaching out on both sides of the border. And of course, during the annual event 2024, there's going to be a lot of great events happening. So also make plans, reserve dates and all that to be a part of that as well.
Yeah. And is it just for design-driven people, for designers? Is it for anyone?
No, it's for anyone. Remember that we focus on design, yes, but also design thinking and human-centered design. So design is in everything. I mean, I can look around here and design is in everything in everyday life. So it'll help you expand your concept of design, identify where it is, priority in your life, and then come back to us and learn more about what you conceive design to be. So it's open to everybody.
Yeah, and I want to invite people also to have an opinion or challenge you or bring an angle towards you that they feel isn't considered yet. So I really love that you're saying there's multiple points to connect. And as a last question, is there anything that came up to you talking about this? Anything that now reveals itself?
So an important part that I really like to emphasize is Design Forward's Alliance really emphasizing or creating a set of values for this project, right? And first and foremost is collaboration and transparency. Really, it's a wonderful idea. It's very hard to do, but they've been doing it. The other is inclusion and multiculturalism. One would say it's organic when you're dealing with San Diego, Tijuana. Yes, but not all projects include this. The other is respect. And finally, of course, human-centered design. So those core values, those 4 core values have been the ones that have been, leading or directing us. And it's important, organizations and projects might have their mission statement and all this, but do they create a set of values like these that'll help you navigate? And I think this is something that's been very innovative about Design Forward Alliance as well. Yes.
So also leading this over to our portal and the design lab at the UC San Diego, University of California of San Diego. Anyone who's curious can look at that research, educational, community-driven lab. So thank you, Laura, for your time.
No, thank you, Julika. Once again, thank you for considering. And I hope I I gave justice to the Tijuana participation in this fantastic, lovely project. Thank you.